Hi geographers and welcome to today's lesson on responses to Typhoon Haiyan. What I want you to do first for me is just pause the video here, write down the title and complete the do now, so I'll let you do that. Lovely, brilliant, well done. So answers, question 1 is increase, question 2 is 6,300, question 3 is 5.6 million people lost their jobs, question 4 is a landslide, question 5 is the eye wall, question 6 is between 5 and 30 degrees north and south, question 7 is 27 degrees, and question 8 is 32%. And this is an urban challenge for the stretch it, because this means people will turn to a life of crime, which leads to families moving out of the area as they feel unsafe. So, what I'll do is I'll just let you pause the video here and I'll read through the key words. So we've got a word called pit latrine, which is a toilet dug into the soil. We've got an immediate response, which are responses to disasters that happen immediately, normally within the first few days, hours and weeks, and that's there to prevent the loss of life. And then we've got long-term responses, which are responses over a longer term, and these are there to help rebuild and prevent the impact of disasters in the future. So like I said, pause the video and just make sure you get these keywords down. I'm just showing you this quick slide here, it's just showing you the blue zone. So the final task for today is you're going to be answering this question, which says both immediate and long-term responses are needed after a tropical storm. Discuss the statement, use the figure above and an example you studied, which is going to be Typhoon Haiyan. Again, reiterating these key terms, an immediate response is seen here in the picture, and it shows people rescuing people from rubble. Okay, so immediate responses are responses that happen immediately and are there to save lives. Whereas long-term responses, we can see the picture here, the house is being rebuilt, happens over a longer period of time, and it's there to prevent the impact of disasters in the future. So our named tropical storm was Typhoon Haiyan, which hit the Philippines on November the 8th, 2013. And what we need to do is understand how did the Philippines respond to the typhoon. So to start with, we'll talk through some of the immediate responses. Before the typhoon, the PAGASA, which is the Philippines Meteorological Agency, predicted the storm and they evacuated 800,000 people, with many taking refuge in the stadium. However, many died when this flooded following the storm surge, which wasn't predicted. The government declared a state of emergency, leading to many charities offering aid, food and water. And Plan International, an aid organisation, constructed pit latrines for around 100,000 people. So what I want you to do now is when we talk through the next 3 slides and talk through the 3 things again, is just write down what the response was and then a little chain of reason, this means which means next. You can do this in note form, just so you get the key knowledge and understanding down to support you in the last task. So, before the storm, PAGASA, which is the Philippines Meteorological Agency, predicted the path of the storm through use of satellites. By predicting the path of the storm, they were able to warn people in the Philippines, and due to this, 800,000 people evacuated. This means many people were out of the path of the storm, which means when the storm hit, it killed fewer people. This is a massive success. A slight downside, which is worth noting down, is although people evacuated where the storm surge wasn't predicted, that eventually did end up killing some people who evacuated as the storm surge came to land and flooded the stadium where people took refuge. The next response was by a charity called Plan International, and they went to the Philippines after the storm to help build pit latrines. These are toilets built into the ground, and the way this works is it gave 100,000 people access to a clean toilet, a sanitary toilet, and by allowing people to toilet in a safe space, this meant it stopped the spread of diseases, which in turn meant less people would die as a result of the typhoon. And finally, the last immediate response we need to get down is the Philippine government declared a state of emergency. And what this meant, it meant that aid organisations and governments around the world worked in collaboration to send medical aid, clean water and food to the Philippines, which meant less people would die as they would have the medicine to cure any injuries, clean water to prevent spread of cholera. Right, so just a quick little quiz for you guys. Question 1, what was the acronym for the Philippines Meteorological Agency? Question 2, how many people were evacuated before the storm? Question 3, what did the government declare after the storm? And what did Plan International install? Right, brilliant. So let's go through the answers. The acronym is PAGASA, P-A-G-A-S-A. 800,000 people were evacuated. The government declared a state of emergency. And number 4 was pit latrines, the toilets in the ground. So that's the immediate responses. Long-term responses were as follows. The Philippines Tourism Board encouraged and advertised tourism to the country to unaffected areas from the storm. International charities like Save the Children built storm-resistant houses by training 900,000 carpenters, and the United Nations appeal through different countries raised $300 million. So the first one you need to write down is the Philippines Tourist Board advertised for tourists to visit unaffected parts of the country. This meant the Philippines had a source of income from tourism, so the government would receive tax, which means the government would have money to spend on rebuilding homes, rebuilding roads, rebuilding schools, rebuilding hospitals that were destroyed in this storm. So this is a way of the Philippines gaining income to fix the problems created. Another long-term response was the charity Save the Children, trained 900,000 people as carpenters, so builders within the Philippines, in areas which saw buildings destroyed. This meant people had the skills and knowledge in order to rebuild homes using stronger materials, which means in any future storms the likelihood of the buildings collapsing is reduced, so therefore less people will die. And the final long-term response was the United Nations. Member countries from the UN donated $300 million in aid to the Philippines, and this again provided the government with an income which could be used to rebuild infrastructure in the Philippines to a higher level than before, which means the impact of future typhoons could be significantly reduced. So what you need to do is just make sure you've got the change of reason down for all three immediate and long-term responses. Right, I have a little quick quiz for you. So question 1, what charity trained carpenters? How many were trained? Question 2. Question 3, what did they build? Question 4, how much money did the UN raise? And question 5, who did the Filipino government want to visit after the typhoon? Pause it here and have a go. Brilliant, well done. So the charity was Save the Children. They trained 900,000 carpenters and they built stronger houses. The UN raised $300 million and the Filipino government wanted tourists to visit after the storm. So like I said, if you're not sure on any of the 3 immediate or 3 long-term responses and you haven't got written down a clear chain of reason for each, please rewind the video to go watch my explanation, because that's going to really support you in the upcoming Blue Zone. So here is your exam question. It says study the figure below showing some immediate and long-term responses to tropical storms. We've got rescue people are trapped, provide medical support for injured people, improve forecasting and early warning systems, repair transport routes, set up temporary shelters and improve building regulations. And the question itself says both immediate and long-term responses are needed after a tropical storm. Discuss this statement. Use the figure above and an example of a tropical storm you studied. To succeed in this question, you need an AKUU paragraph on immediate responses, an AKUU paragraph on long term, you need to use the figure, you need 2 pieces of PLC from Typhoon Haiyan, and you need a conclusion where you judge whether immediate or long term responses are more important. I've also got a list of keywords, but before we do that, I'll just talk you through some chains of reason you might want to use. So, you might talk about your knowledge being about the early warnings and predictions. How 800,000 people evacuated. Well, this means they're out of the path of the storm, which means less people will die within the storm, therefore saving thousands of lives. You might talk about Save the Children in your long-term paragraph, providing carpentry training. This means houses were rebuilt out of stronger materials, which means in the future less houses will be destroyed. So this prevents social impacts of death and also economic impacts of rebuilding. So, there's your Blue Zone. Please make sure you use a knowledge from the figure as well as two from the Typhoon Haiyan. You can link them, so like I said, you could use your knowledge of improved forecasting and early warning systems in your first paragraph, the immediate, and then talk about Typhoon Haiyan and Pagaset as well in the same paragraph. Please feel free to pause the video here and have a go at answering the question. Brilliant, really well done today, guys. Here is just a model answer for you to look at. This is perfect, so I will leave this up here for you to read through. You can use this to mark against your work, or if you're completely stuck, you can use this to help you guys, and you can try and answer the question again, which is on this slide here. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with anything geography at Castle View. And also, if you've completed the work, please bring it in to stick into your book or get your teacher to mark it, or alternatively you can email them. Have a great day. Thank you.